Body language is going to be a key index for all of these interactions. However, body language and gesture will be coupled with different aspects of speech, such as tone, volume, and pace. We'll also look at formal and informal distance, both psychological and physical, which will include some non-sexual physical contact, which is touching. What I mean by psychological and physical space is best described by an example. You know that feeling when you're in a public and crowded space and you just want to distance yourself from others? How do you do that? You put your headphones in, or you read a book, or you cover your face with a newspaper, or you simply look down. In all these cases, you're creating an inner space, a place where you feel at ease. Each of us, consciously or unconsciously, requires a personal space from which we can interact comfortably, feeling that within its boundaries will be respected both physically and psychologically. Given this knowledge, when you, as a male, want to approach a female, you need to be cognizant that all women require, even demand, that personal space. This is the larger context in which your approach will either be received or rejected. In talking, confidence, or a lack thereof, can come through dialogue, eye contact, body posture and gesture, and the pace at which the speaker is speaking. We will now look at 3 very real-world scenarios of a man trying to talk to a woman. In this clip, the focus of this approach is primarily body language and posture with a secondary focus on speech.
Hi.
Hi.
Could I get a coffee?
Yeah.
What are you reading?
Leaders Eat Last.
Who's that by?
Simon Sinek.
Oh, Simon Sinek.
Have you read anything else by them?
No.
Okay.
This man is lingering around the woman, trying to muster up the courage to talk to her. His body language is indecisive in that he keeps alternating between facing the door and motioning but towards going to talk to the woman with whom he wants to chat. His body is indicating that he's already ready to leave because he's anticipating rejection. He's not facing her directly and his body posture is awkward, feet pointing towards the door. He's unable to make or maintain eye contact with the woman and is fidgeting by rubbing his arm and looking around the room nervously. On the complete opposite side of the spectrum, we have an overly confident man approaching a woman at a coffee shop.
What are you drinking? 2 coffees. Yeah, just got back from the gym.
Nice.
The female is in the same position as the previous scenario, seated, reading a book with a cup of tea. This man has no genuine interest in the person to whom he's talking. He just noticed a hot chick and is playing out his fantasy. He's only said 2 sentences to this woman, and through his gestures has clearly indicated what his interests are. He's failing at trying to make a personal psychological connection with the woman, but he is succeeding at invading and disrupting her personal, physical, and psychological space. When he speaks, his voice is loud, boastful, and the tone is dismissive. The conversation takes on a self-centered focus, and the content quite sleazy. Strike 1 would be not saying hello first. Strike 2 was sitting down uninvited. And strike 3 was being oblivious to the fact that she's drinking tea and not coffee. He's out. Your challenge and your goal is to make a personal connection without intruding into someone's personal space. Because when you intrude in someone's space, you make them feel uncomfortable. And the aim of establishing contact is creating a comfortable zone in which you can meet and interact. This scene has set the stage for future interactions and has made a woman feel comfortable in your presence, quite unlike our previous 2 clips where one was too intrusive and the other was just awkward and uninviting.
Hi. Yeah.
Hey, pardon me, is that Simon Sinek?
Yeah, it is.
How do you like him?
He's really good, yeah. Have you read any of his stuff?
Yeah, I've read all full of stuff. Actually.
Oh, nice.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, my friend lent me his first one. I just couldn't put it down, so I just picked this one up the other day.
It's great. Do you mind if I sit down?
Sure.
Yeah, no, he's my favorite author of all time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
How did you hear him in?
My dad was he's a huge Simon Sinek fan, basically. Yeah. Is this the first one? Second
Yeah.
one. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I was hooked right from the first page of the first book.
Nice. Yeah, I find him really relatable.
Yeah.
Like, even though he's gone through all this stardom, he's still really down there.
Yeah, no, definitely,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. He's still he didn't let fame go to his head or anything like that.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
So. I gotta head out, but hey, if you wanna, I don't know, talk more about Simon Sinek or anything, you should give me your number.
Sure.
Yeah. What's your phone number?
250?
250
Yeah, 617
617
8390.
8390. Cool.
This is the ideal approach. This is the one that exhibits confidence, body language, and works to create a connection with a woman at your first meeting. His tone is gentle, conversational, and relaxed, and his observation and question are said at a medium volume, not shouting and not so soft that she can't hear what he's asking her. This type of approach is genuine and does not carry any undertones of him having a hidden agenda. What is happening here is that this man is approaching a woman with a genuine interest. Regardless of the reason for his approach, whether he wants a date, to hook up, or just to get to know her, he is making a point of contact by gently entering into her space, but not making it uncomfortable for her. What we saw in the previous failed approaches was that the woman was made uncomfortable by the nervous energy from scenario 1. In scenario 2, she felt like a man had just intruded her personal bubble. Neither of these approaches create an invitation to connect. In contrast, with the third example, we can see a man making contact by approaching her in a friendly way, a way that is not intrusive, but it offers an invitation to engage and get to know one another. The important word here is invitation. For like all invitations, it doesn't come with any necessity to accept. It is open, like a smile, and non-threatening. In this scenario, the focus is on conversation, the communication that happens after the approach. The first focus in talking is obviously content, but as important as the content is the delivery of that content. This involves tone, volume, and pace, which will be our primary focus. But an important secondary focus, body language, will also be examined. When we think about people speaking, besides the words, the elements that reveal the message are tone, volume, and pace. If your volume is low and your pace is fast, and your tone is uncertain, then the woman, as the listener, experiences nervousness, feels uncomfortable, and wants to end this encounter as quickly as possible. Just like his body language is saying, "I want out," her body language will also begin to reflect this. Not only is the content of what he's saying dull and forgettable, but his delivery is awkward, which makes this entire encounter uncomfortable. This is not the foundation upon which something can be built. The people who are truly arrogant don't really look at you or see you, but they look through you. They avert real eye contact. They're interested in themselves, and you are their audience. I, me, and mine feature in their speech. The thing to understand about arrogance and anxiety is that there are two states of being on different sides of the same coin, that coin being insecurity. The anxious conversationalist is self-deprecating. This is a form of egotism, except it focuses on weakness, not strength. It's internal deprecation. It expresses itself as a feeling of not being worthy of a woman's time, whereas the arrogant conversationalist is all about self-aggrandizement. This is the flip side of the anxious one. Arrogance expresses itself as an external desire for confirmation. The arrogant person is a beggar for attention. Like I've said before, the most important thing in building any instant attraction through conversation is creating a safe and comfortable space in which sharing is encouraged. And here we have a perfect example of that. A man has started a friendly conversation with a woman by having an open body posture and speaking purposefully. This is the ideal encounter for that exact combination. When you're speaking with a woman and you give her space, you also give her the chance to bridge that gap of space between the two of you, which can also indicate to you that she's feeling more comfortable with you. When we lean into someone as they speak, if you nod in clusters of 3, that indicates to the speaker that you're interested in what they're saying and that will lengthen their response time. So when you're chatting to a woman and you want her to keep talking, try nodding 3 times to show that you're invested in what she has to say. The setting of this interaction is at a party, bar, or any social gathering. The goal of this interaction is to escalate from an initial connection through conversation and move to a more flirtatious one through touch. Our first clip is one that looks at an overzealous man who is yearning for some female attention, but going about it in the wrong way. This is the Hotshot's Guide to Over-Flirting.
Because she's like hardly ever in there, I think. Right?
We're in the office on Tuesdays.
okay,
Sometimes, we meet up and we'll do some work together outside
Yeah.
the office, which is nice.
Yeah, I've been like calling on her recently, just like, do you want to study together?
Yeah.
We'll just hang out and
Is
you
that
can
a
make
mirror in
sure.
your pocket?
Yeah, we can do that.
So I could see me in your pants. Name's Chad, by the way.
Hi, Talia.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, I just got off this big movie in Vancouver. I'm an actor, if you didn't know.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
How was it?
Yeah. It's good. Nice bracelet.
Thanks.
Bought my girlfriend one just like this. A little fancier though, but bitch didn't even return it.
Well,
This scenario takes place at a party where a girl is clearly already engaged in a pretty private conversation with her friend as they're standing face to face. Not only is this man having the most inauthentic conversation with the woman, he's not even trying to get to know her. His style of flirting is just showing off, hoping that that's all it takes to get a woman to want to go home with him. What he doesn't realize, though, is that his smarmy approach is a turn-off and not a turn-on. He's made the woman uncomfortable, and, as we've stated earlier, that when you want to attract women, it's important that you do so in a respectful way where they feel encouraged to share and connect with you, and not off-put by your total disregard for the situation. The way he grabbed her bracelet was just as invasive as his approach. This type of encounter does not make a woman want to get to know you. It makes her want to get away from you. Chad's cocky attempt at flirting might work in movies, but in reality, people respond much more favorably to a genuine interest and a conversation that opens the way to get to know a complete stranger. A conversation that attempts to find common ground upon which to connect. Suffice it to say that Chad struck out. He failed to be invited into Talia's personal space. His tone was pompous and the conversation was self-centered. In it, there was no room for anyone else. Here's another example of a man trying to woo a woman at a party, but letting his nerves get the best of him.
I moved back there like in May, so
Oh, nice.
yeah.
That's good.
So
You have the
a few
summer
months.
there.
Yeah.
I like that area.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Hi. So what are you doing at the party?
I'm here for the birthday.
What are you drinking?
Beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Pretty satisfying.
Yeah.
Um, who makes
Stick your
it?
finger and see your reading.
Phillips?
Just like
Phillips?
pull it around.
Yeah.
No. Let it put it in your mouth.
Um,
Let it in your mouth.
can I get you another one?
I'm actually all good. I'm gonna run to the washroom, but
Oh.
Totally.
In this particular scenario, a man and a woman are engaged in a conversation. This man approached her by coming up from behind her and tapping her on the shoulder. That was our first no-no. There's nothing wrong with the content of this interaction. I mean, it could be a lot better, but the problems arise in the delivery. When you sound unsure of what you want, the person with whom you're speaking will be unsure how to answer you. His tone is submissive, especially when he asks her if he can get her another drink, maybe, possibly. The conversation made no strides in trying to get to know her. It flatlined in that it immediately went to small talk about what she was drinking, which made no point of connection for the two of them to go off of. So flirting was out of the question from the get-go. His posture is uninviting and nervous as well. He's hunched over, making himself small. It almost looks like he's trying to disappear. His hands are in his pockets and his posture screams, "Get me out of here." Because he was physically uncomfortable, she too became uncomfortable in that interaction, which caused her answers to become shorter and shorter until she graciously walked away from this awkward mess. No flirting to be seen here, folks. Let's hope our next bachelor has some better luck. For our final clip, we'll look at how to have a conversation with a woman that can escalate to some flirting. We'll mostly look at how you can use your body to inch things further along.
So for New Year's, I think we're going to Fernie and Revelstoke, and there are a couple hills I've actually never been to before, so I'm really looking forward to it. There's a discount pass that we grabbed, so it's like $45 a day for the pass for skiing. It's really good.
Hey, I'm
Hi.
Clayton, by the way.
Talia, nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you. So how do you know the host?
I work with her.
Oh,
Yeah, how about you?
I know her boyfriend very well, actually.
Oh, nice.
Went to high school with him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You've known her for a long time.
Long time.
Yeah.
So what do you do for work?
I work in HR.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's an alright gig, eh?
I really enjoy it. Yeah, it's really personal.
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely see that. That's great.
I need to congratulate you. That was great get to know you banter, and I loved how you waited till she finished her conversation before you introduced yourself. What did you think about that approach?
Yeah, I think it was really smooth.
Yeah,
Just,
it was
really-
respectful.
yeah.
Awesome. I'm really happy with this. During this interaction, he moves himself so that he's sitting beside her and their chairs are turned towards each other. His body is relaxed and open, his arms are not crossed and in his pockets. And when he speaks, he uses his hands to gesture as a sign of confidence. As well, like we've mentioned earlier, he nods while she speaks to indicate that he's listening and engaged in the conversation. He's also asking thoughtful questions that attempt to deepen the conversation and create a foundation upon which to start flirting. Now, what was great about this situation was that he made her feel comfortable by getting to know her at a natural pace. He also amped up the flirting by creating a scenario in which both of them could relax and laugh, all of which are essential factors in flirting. Laughter decreases stress hormones and triggers the release of endorphins, the body's natural feel-good chemicals. Laughter and flirting usually go hand in hand in creating positive feelings about one another. This guy in this scene radiates a cool, effortless confidence. He's not trying too hard, but he's showing interest and starting off by making a connection on how they both know the host. He then asks her thoughtful questions in an attempt to get to know her and make her feel comfortable talking and sharing with someone whom she's just met. This is the ideal situation. The possibility to flirt happens when you've made a connection with a woman. The flirting is the amplification of that connection in an attempt to see if there's a spark and/or chemistry between you two. Flirting can't happen without talking and employing proper body language. The whole idea that I mentioned earlier on about each individual having a personal space is an important factor to remember. Your challenge is to not invade someone's personal space, but to be invited into it. Before I leave, I think it's important to remember that the thing about life is that it's a learning experience. No one is born with the knowledge of how to interact, attract female or male attention, and converse effortlessly. These are learned skills, and usually there are 4 stages of the learning process. Unconsciously incompetent is the first stage. This is where you have yet to realize where you're going wrong. You're moving through life unsuccessfully, not yet knowing you need to improve in order to attract women. You attribute to your failure to bad luck. Step 2 is consciously incompetent. The second stage of learning is understanding that you're not quite where you need to be. At this stage, you see your shortcoming, often painfully. Step 3 is consciously competent. In the third stage of learning, you take the knowledge that I'm sharing with you here and you start to work with it, consciously putting it into practice. And step 4, unconsciously competent. This last stage is when the knowledge becomes a natural expression of who and what you are. In conclusion, let me just say that I hope that no matter at what stage of the learning process that you find yourself, you realize that you are fully capable of being unconsciously competent in your approach, in your conversations, and yes, in your flirting with women that have attracted your attention. Just follow the directions outlined in this video and remember Oscar Wilde's advice, be yourself because everyone else is taken.